Will Jeff Bezos get a second chance to build NASA's lunar lander? Hey guys, today we're going to know if Jeff Bezos will get a second chance to build NASA's lunar lander. Let's get right into it. In March of this year, NASA announced its intention to select a second commercial venture to build a landing system capable of transporting astronauts to and from the lunar surface. The venture would compete with SpaceX's lunar landing system, which is based on its Starship design and won a $2.9 billion NASA contract in April. The uncrewed test mission of the Starship lunar lander to the moon is scheduled for 2024, followed by the first crewed lunar landing for NASA's Artemis program in 2025. NASA Administrator Bill Nelson said, "We expect approximately one human landing per year, over a decade or so, and these are not isolated missions." He then said, "Each is going to build on the past progress, and all of that is, of course, in preparation for us to have the first human mission to Mars late in the 2030s or 2040. When SpaceX was awarded the contract by NASA last April, two competitors, Alabama-based Dynetics and a team led by Jeff Bezos' Blue Origin space venture, complained that NASA should have made more than one award in order to promote competition. Some members of Congress, including Senator Maria Cantwell of Washington, made similar claims. Nelson stated that the new program, dubbed the Sustaining Lunar Development Contract, or Next Step Appendix P, would address those concerns. He told reporters, "I promised competition, so here it is. If everything goes as planned, the second company's landers will enter service in 2026 to 2027, beginning with an uncrewed test mission to the lunar surface." Now, Blue Origin is once again making a pitch to build a lunar lander for NASA's Artemis program. The space company is partnering with Lockheed Martin, Boeing, Astrobotic Technology, Honeybee Robotics and Draper in hopes of building a second lander. Previously, the private space company attempted to secure a NASA contract for the first human landing system, but was defeated by rival SpaceX last year. Blue Origin previously collaborated with Lockheed Martin, Northrop Grumman, and Draper to form the national team, but for its second attempt, the company dropped Northrop Grumman in favor of Boeing, Astrobotics, and Honeybee. Blue Origin didn't provide much information or how it plans to win NASA's contract. As an aside, SpaceX isn't allowed to make a bid because it will develop its own second lander under Option B of its contract, but more on that in a moment. Last time, Bezos didn't take the L well, filing a lawsuit against NASA in the United States Court of Federal Claims over the space agency's decision to award SpaceX the first lunar lander contract. However, life is all about second chances, and Bezos is now hoping that his revamped space team will be able to land humans on the moon. The second lunar lander, like the first, must be capable of transporting astronauts from lunar orbit to the moon's surface and then back to lunar orbit. It will also need to dock with the Lunar Gateway, a planned orbital outpost around the moon that will help the Artemis program achieve its goal of maintaining a sustained human presence on the moon. NASA's Artemis program was recently launched, with the launch of its Orion capsule, which is currently on its way home from the moon. The Artemis 1 mission is unmanned, but the upcoming Artemis 2 mission, which is essentially a repeat of Artemis 1, will have a crew of 4 astronauts. NASA does not intend to place astronauts on the lunar surface until Artemis 3, which is scheduled for no earlier than 2025. NASA and SpaceX signed a $4 billion contract in 2021 to develop a human landing system for Artemis 3. Blue Origin and its partners requested an $8 billion contract. Blue Origin claimed that NASA's bidding process was unfair after losing the bid. In July, Bezos wrote an open letter to NASA's Bill Nelson, pleading for an extension in exchange for a waiver of all payments up to $3 billion. The company also pointed out flaws in SpaceX's HLS solution, citing its unproven Starship platform, which has yet to fly. However, NASA recently increased its bet on SpaceX, awarding Elon Musk's company a $2 billion contract to develop a second lunar lander for its Artemis 4 mission. The mission was not intended to land astronauts on the moon, but the space agency changed its mind. As a result, NASA pursued Option B of its contract with SpaceX, which calls for the Elon Musk-led company to create a modified version of the first lunar lander. NASA has a lot of faith in SpaceX, but the space agency isn't about to put all of its eggs in a single basket, especially one led by the volatile Musk. Because NASA is aiming for a long-term return to the moon, it makes sense for the agency to collaborate with multiple private partners and have a variety of options at its disposal. It's similar to the Commercial Crew program, in which SpaceX delivered the Crew Dragon capsule, while Boeing has yet to deliver Starliner. Who knows, maybe something similar will happen with HLS. NASA's request for proposals from non-SpaceX companies to develop the second, non-SpaceX lunar lander, which will presumably be used for the Artemis 5 mission, was likely motivated by the need for vendor diversity. SpaceX and Blue Origin are key players in the private space industry at the moment, so a little healthy competition between them is expected, even if the billionaires in charge aren't accustomed to losing. That's all for today, and we'll be sure to catch you all in the next one.